The year was 2439. Humanity had become one of the most respected species in the galaxy. After centuries of war and struggle, Earth had finally earned a seat in the Galactic Council, a powerful group of alien civilizations that ruled over thousands of star systems. The humans were proud. They believed they had friends among the stars. They believed in peace, but they were wrong. High above Earth, in the deep silence of space, a small listening ship floated near the edge of the Draenus sector. Inside it, a woman sat alone, wearing a dark blue uniform. Her name was Elena Maris, a skilled diplomat and intelligence officer. She worked for Earth's Secret Defense Division. Elena had been sent there for a routine job, listening to signals and monitoring alien chatter. Most days, she only heard trading calls, transport schedules, and boring council news. But on this day, something strange happened. A soft beep broke the silence. Her computer showed a hidden, encrypted signal coming from a nearby relay station, one used only by the Galactic Council. That was unusual. Council channels were always secure. This signal was broken, weak, and filled with static. It wasn't meant to be heard. Elena's fingers moved fast over the controls. She ran the signal through the decryption tool. The message came through in bits and pieces, but what she heard made her freeze. Project Silent Sky. Earth must be removed. Humans growing too fast. Council cannot allow. Final decision soon. Elena's eyes widened. Her heart beat faster. She listened to the message again, trying to make sense of it. Project Silent Sky. Remove Earth. It was clear. Someone in the Galactic Council was talking about eliminating humans, not from a vote, not from peace, but from existence. Elena copied the message and locked it under high security. Then she sent an emergency transmission to Earth's High Command. Back on Earth, in a vast underground base known as Fort Aegis, the top human leaders gathered. Generals, scientists, and diplomats sat in a room filled with glowing screens and quiet tension. Elena appeared on the main display. "I found a council message," she said. "They're planning something against us, a project called Silent Sky. It sounds dangerous." The room went silent. General Rhodes, an older man with silver hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward. "You're sure it came from council channels?" "Yes, sir." The voice matched Council Leader Varkesh of Velari Prime. Varkesh was one of the highest voices in the council. He had always smiled at humans. He had always promised peace. But now his words spoke of betrayal. Earth's president, Lana Gray, looked calm, but her voice was firm. "We cannot ignore this. Begin a full investigation. Quietly. No one outside this room must know." The meeting ended quickly. A new mission began. Find the truth and prepare for the worst. Over the next few days, Earth's intelligence network moved silently. Human spies listened in council meetings. Analysts searched years of council data. Something strange appeared. Every time Earth made progress, new technology, new space stations, new trade deals, certain council members complained. They warned that humans were moving too fast, that humans might become a threat. But the most shocking part, these talks had been going on for years, and Earth never knew. It wasn't one alien race, it was many. Some jealous, some afraid, some simply cold and power-hungry. And now, they were working together. Elena worked day and night, listening to more hidden signals, finding more secret messages. The plan was real. The Council had betrayed them. Still, Earth wasn't ready to act. They needed more proof. They needed to be careful. But one thing had changed forever. Trust was broken. Elena stood by the window of her ship one night, looking at the stars. "These stars used to feel safe," she whispered. "Now they feel like enemies." Down on Earth, preparations began. Ships were upgraded. Satellites were armed. Defense systems were placed in deep space. All without making noise. All in secret. The calm was ending. Storm clouds were building. And humanity, once hopeful, now stood on the edge of a shadow it did not expect. They were betrayed, but they would not fall quietly. Not this time. Elena Maris returned to Earth under full security. Her ship was unmarked, her travel logs erased. Only a few high-ranking officials knew she had arrived. What she had uncovered in space was now considered the most dangerous secret on Earth. Inside Fort Aegis, she walked through long steel corridors until she reached a hidden command center, deep below the Earth's surface. There she met with a group called the Silent Circle, a secret task force made to protect Earth from unseen threats. Around a black circular table, the members waited: generals, intelligence heads, diplomats, and scientists. No names were spoken, only actions mattered here. Elena sat down and took a deep breath. "The Council is planning to remove us," she began. "They're calling it Project Silent Sky. But this isn't just a political move. It's something much darker." The Silent Circle listened carefully. No one interrupted. I tracked other messages after the first one. There are references to containment fleets, resource blocks, and even biological suppression tools. They're not just trying to push us out of the Council. They want to control us. Or worse, erase us. A cold silence followed her words. No one in the room was shocked, just angry. This was the confirmation they feared. General Rhodes leaned forward, his voice quiet but sharp. "Then we have no more friends, only watchers and enemies." President Lana Gray, watching from a secure line, spoke clearly. "We don't strike yet. We gather. We observe. But if their plan moves forward, we respond with force." That night, Earth activated Protocol Blacklight, a top-secret operation to insert human agents deep within the Galactic Council. These agents were not soldiers. They were linguists, spies, scientists, diplomats, masters of observation. Their mission was simple: find the truth, record everything, discover who was leading the betrayal, and who could still be trusted. The agents moved fast. One agent, Juno Kai, posed as a cultural researcher on the planet Terval Minor, home to the Council's information archives. She hacked hidden files and found records of secret council meetings that were never broadcasted to the public. In these files, she read with horror as several alien leaders called for the containment of Earth's spread and neutralization of human innovation. Another agent, Marcus Vane, infiltrated a mining colony on Velari Prime, the homeworld of Council leader Varkesh. There, he discovered a secret fleet being built, not labeled as military, but filled with advanced weapons and cloaking systems, ships designed to disable, not destroy. Ships perfect for a silent invasion. Each report confirmed it. The Council feared humanity. It wasn't hate. It wasn't revenge. It was fear. Humans were different. In just 200 years, they had done what other species took 1,000 years to do. They moved fast. They adapted. They made allies easily, shared technology, and expanded their reach across space. And that speed, that unpredictability, terrified the old powers. But the biggest shock came from Elena's personal contact in the Council, an old friend named Kren Toller from the peaceful race of Cerelians. He sent her a coded message late one night. "They are moving soon. The Council will blame Earth for a trade war. It will be their excuse. They plan to send peacekeepers, but those peacekeepers are armed." Elena read the message twice. She didn't want to believe it, but she knew Kren would never lie to her. She returned to Fort Aegis and played the message in front of the Silent Circle. After it ended, no one said a word. Finally, General Rhodes stood. "It's begun. We have maybe days." Across Earth, leaders began to prepare. Colonies were warned, secretly and quietly. Earth's defense grid went into silent mode. Factories stopped producing ships for trade and started building ships for war. But Earth did not act in panic. Instead, it watched, it listened, and it waited. Because humans had a new plan. They would let the Council make the first move. They would collect every lie, every attack, and every shadow mission. They would gather it all into one final message, a message not just for the Council, but for the whole galaxy. A message that would shake the stars. But first, they had to survive the first strike. As the tension in the galaxy grew thicker, Elena and the Silent Circle prepared for the inevitable confrontation. They had done everything they could to gather information. But now, there was no turning back. The Galactic Council had decided. Humanity had to be stopped. It was a quiet morning when the first signs of the strike began to appear. Earth's intelligence had caught wind of a series of unmarked ships moving through the outskirts of human space. They weren't trading vessels. They weren't civilian ships. These ships were military, heavy, stealthy, and moving in formation. Elena sat in a darkened room at Fort Aegis, staring at a live feed of the fleet's movements. The ships were headed towards Earth's outer colonies, the most vulnerable parts of humanity's expansion. A warning signal flashed on the screen. A series of encrypted messages were being transmitted to Earth from deep space, specifically from the Nerean Belt, a once neutral region of space known for its unregulated asteroid mining colonies. The messages weren't friendly. They were coded orders, sent by Varkesh, the leader of the Velari. And this time, the orders were clear. Neutralize Earth's defenses. Begin the invasion. For a moment, Elena couldn't breathe. She knew Varkesh. He had always been a supporter of peace. He was the one who had promised Earth a safe place in the Council. But now, it seemed, he was part of the very conspiracy to destroy them. Her hand trembled as she sent a secure message to President Lana Gray. The strike is imminent. They're attacking our colonies. I recommend immediate counteraction. We have no more time. The message was brief, but the urgency was unmistakable. Within minutes, the highest military officials on Earth were mobilizing their fleets. They knew their moment had arrived. No more waiting. It was time to take a stand. But just as the fleet was preparing to engage, a sudden transmission broke through the encrypted channels. This one from Kren Toller, the Sarellian diplomat who had been Elena's friend for years. Elena, you were right. The Council is pushing forward with the invasion, but they're planning something bigger. The real strike is still to come. They're not just targeting your colonies. They're targeting Earth itself. Elena's heart raced. Earth's outer colonies had always been the weakest link in humanity's defense chain, but this was a much larger threat. If the Council could wipe out Earth's core systems, they could break humanity's spirit once and for all. Elena turned to the Silent Circle. They'll attack Earth soon. We need to get the truth out before it's too late. The Circle's leaders nodded. They knew what needed to be done. They would have to show the galaxy what the Council was really up to. No more secrets, no more whispers in the dark. The galaxy had to know. The first step was to broadcast the proof. Elena's agents had already gathered the data. Every recorded message, every ship movement, every secret Council decision. It was time to expose the conspiracy, to send a final warning to the universe. Elena worked quickly, sending a secure transmission to Earth's most trusted fleet commanders. They were to prepare for a covert operation, one that would put everything on the line. Earth's forces would remain hidden at first, but when the moment came, they would strike with everything they had. As the fleet moved toward Earth's core systems, Elena gathered the final pieces of the message. This wasn't just a military warning. It was a galactic statement. She worked with the best engineers on Earth to create a broadcasting system that would pierce through the Council's propaganda. This message would be broadcasted directly to every star system in the galaxy, bypassing the Council's censorship and showing the universe what they were really planning. Earth will never be silenced. Not by the Council, not by fear. We've been betrayed, but we will not fall. These were the words that would echo across the stars. But just as Elena was finalizing the message, a sudden burst of light filled the screen in front of her. It was Varkesh's fleet. Thousands of ships appeared out of nowhere, cloaking systems falling away as they entered Earth's orbit. The Council's attack had begun. Earth's fleet wasn't ready. They were still in position, preparing for the inevitable, but not yet fully mobilized. And the Council's ships were massive, packed with troops and advanced weaponry. Alina's hands flew over the controls. She called for immediate deployment of Earth's defensive fleets. They had to act fast. There was no time for hesitation. As the first Council ships began firing on Earth's outer defense systems, Alina's heart dropped. The ships were too fast, too well coordinated. For a moment, it seemed as though humanity would be overwhelmed. But then, something unexpected happened. Earth's hidden fleet, the one they had been building for years in secret, appeared from behind Earth's largest moon, Celerix. It had been prepared for this day, and it came out of the darkness with unimaginable force. The two fleets collided in space. The battle was fierce. The Council's ships, though powerful, were not prepared for the advanced weapons Earth had developed in secrecy. Earth's technology had far surpassed their expectations. But Alina knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge lay in the final broadcast. If Earth could expose the truth to the galaxy, the Council's power would crumble. And then the truth would be heard. The battle above Earth's moon raged on as waves of Council ships clashed with Earth's fleet. The silence of space had been shattered by the roar of ion cannons, the brilliant explosions of starship shields breaking, and the frantic cries of commanders coordinating their defenses. Alina watched from the command center of Fort Aegis, every moment filled with tension. She knew that the fight above was just the beginning of something far more dangerous. Earth had to win, but victory wasn't the only thing at stake. If the Council's betrayal went unchecked, the galaxy would never see peace again. The stakes were higher than any of them had imagined. Focus fire on their shield generators. General Rhodes barked over the communication channels, his voice sharp and unwavering. Earth's fleet, although outnumbered, fought with the intensity of a species that had everything to lose. They were prepared, determined to protect their home, their future, and their place in the galaxy. But the battle above Earth wasn't the real threat. It was what happened next. As Alina monitored the conflict, her attention was drawn back to the broadcast system they had built. The message to the galaxy, Earth's declaration of survival, had to go live. The plan was to broadcast it across every star system, every communication relay that could be accessed. The truth had to be out there, no matter the cost. "Begin the transmission," Alina ordered, her voice steady but filled with urgency. The signal was encrypted, protected by layers of technology that had been in development for years. Earth's best engineers had worked tirelessly to make sure no one could stop it. The plan was simple: broadcast to the Council's home systems, sending the truth directly to their core. If the Council couldn't silence humanity, the rest of the galaxy would know the truth of their betrayal. Alina pushed the button to begin the broadcast, and her heart skipped a beat. For a brief moment, it felt as though the entire universe paused in anticipation. The truth of what the Council had planned for Earth was about to be unleashed on the galaxy. At the same time, Earth's fleet continued its fierce battle against the Council's warships. The Council's ships were formidable, but humanity's ingenuity was showing through. The newly designed ships, built in secret, made to be faster and more powerful than anything the Council had expected, struck quickly. Each shot aimed at disabling, not destroying, leaving their enemies with no option but to retreat. But there was one flaw in Earth's plan. Unknown to Alina, a Council spy ship had infiltrated the backlines of Earth's fleet. Its mission was to hack into the transmission system and stop the broadcast before it could spread across the stars. The spy ship, cloaked in advanced stealth technology, silently moved toward Earth's transmission tower. Inside, an elite group of alien agents had infiltrated the Earth forces. They were prepared to do whatever it took to prevent the truth from reaching the galaxy. Alina knew the mission was risky, but she never imagined the Council would go so far as to sabotage their final attempt at survival. It was a race against time. If Earth could hold the line and complete the broadcast, the galaxy would know the truth. But if the spy ship succeeded in its mission, the truth would be buried, and the Council would remain in control. Seconds felt like hours as Elena observed the progress of the transmission. The signal was already traveling across the network, slowly but steadily making its way through the vast stretches of space. It was too late to stop it now. But as the spy ship neared its target, Earth's engineers worked frantically to keep the broadcast alive. It was a fight on two fronts: the physical battle in the stars and the digital war behind the scenes. On the battlefield, Earth's ships were taking a heavy toll. Some were lost, their debris scattering across the cold void. General Rhodes' voice came through the comms again, sounding strained but resolute. "We're holding, but not for long. The fleet is weakening, Elena. We need that broadcast out now." Elena's hands hovered over the control panel, every movement feeling like an eternity. The spy ship was almost in position. If they didn't act fast, the broadcast would be interrupted. Then she saw it, a small icon on her screen signaling the hidden transmission attempt. "Elena." It was a voice from the communications team. "There's a breach in the system. We've detected a Council vessel hacking our transmission tower." A cold wave of realization hit Elena. Activate the countermeasures. Seal off the network. But it was already too late. The spy ship's signal had already been sent. For a moment, it felt as though everything had failed. But then, something unexpected happened. A sharp, sudden surge of energy, human-made, emerged from the depths of Earth's defense systems. The counter-hacking protocols that had been secretly designed by Earth's best engineers came into play. They had anticipated this. The network, already encrypted, shifted its frequency, locking out the Council's signal and rerouting the broadcast into the galaxy. And then, the message went live. It wasn't just a warning. It was a final declaration. To the galaxy, we stand united as humanity. We were betrayed by the Council, but we will not fall. Our future is ours to shape, and we will not let fear control us. The truth is out. The Council's corruption has been exposed. We will fight, and we will survive. The message flooded every communication relay, every star system, and every race that relied on the Galactic Council. In an instant, the entire galaxy had heard the truth. Earth was no longer a victim, waiting for an attack. It was a force, a power of its own. Back on Earth, Elena stared at the screen as the transmission continued to spread. Her heart raced, knowing what this would mean for the future. The Council could try to silence them. They could fight, they could threaten, but they couldn't undo the truth. Earth's fight wasn't over. The Council had shown their hand, and now the galaxy knew. The rest of the universe would have to decide whether to side with the powerful Council or the rising power of humanity. But for now, Earth had won the most important battle of all, the battle for the truth. The broadcast had sent ripples across the galaxy, shaking the foundations of the Galactic Council. As the truth about the Council's betrayal spread, new alliances began to form, and old ones began to fracture. But for Elena and the Silent Circle, the fight was far from over. The message had been sent, but now the galaxy was watching, waiting to see what humanity would do next. In the wake of the broadcast, Earth's leaders gathered in a hidden war room beneath the surface of Fort Aegis. The entire Council was now aware that their covert operation to silence humanity had been exposed, and they were preparing for their next move. But Earth wasn't going to let them dictate the course of events. General Rhodes stood at the head of the table, his face grim as he addressed the room. "We've lost ships, but we've also gained something important: awareness. The Council no longer has the luxury of hiding in the shadows. But they won't stop. They'll retaliate." Elena stood beside him, looking over the holoscreen showing images of alien ships retreating from Earth's orbit. For the first time, humanity had inflicted damage on the Council, but the true war was still to come. "We've been fighting a war of survival," Elena said, her voice calm but unwavering. "But now we must prepare to fight a war for our future." The war room buzzed with activity as they reviewed reports from Earth's colonies. Some had already declared their allegiance to Earth. Others, particularly those under the influence of the Council, were hesitant, unsure whether to align with a planet still considered to be a minor power in galactic politics. But Alina knew that the truth had sparked something. Humanity's determination, its resilience, had captured the attention of many. They will come for us. And when they do, we need to be ready, General Rhodes continued. We need to be more than just survivors. We need to show the galaxy that humanity can lead. Alina nodded. We need to build on this moment. Every race that hears the truth will decide if they stand with us. It's time to forge new alliances and break the Council's control over the galaxy. The next few days were filled with frenetic planning. Earth's top scientists, diplomats, and military strategists worked around the clock, preparing for the inevitable retaliation from the Council. While the battle above Earth's orbit had temporarily subsided, the larger war was just beginning. The Council would not take this lying down. They had their own covert operations, their spies scattered across the galaxy, monitoring Earth's every move. It was clear that Earth's fight was no longer just about defending their home. It was about reshaping the entire galaxy's political landscape. Alina and the Silent Circle worked tirelessly to engage other races that had been watching the broadcast. The Azura, a highly intelligent aquatic species from the planet Varelian, contacted Earth's diplomats, expressing their desire to discuss trade agreements, but also to explore the possibility of a galactic alliance. The Siraxi, a militaristic race known for their tactical brilliance, had always sided with the Council out of fear, but now they began to question their loyalty. The Siraxi High Command reached out to Earth, requesting a meeting, and even the Draken, a proud reptilian species that had long been at odds with the Council, sent a diplomatic envoy to Earth. Their message was clear. The Council's corruption runs deep. It is time for a new order. As these new alliances formed, the stakes grew higher. Earth was no longer alone. It was no longer a mere bystander in galactic politics. Humanity had become the center of something bigger, a movement, a call for change. But not all races were ready to turn against the Council. Many had been part of the Council for generations and had grown accustomed to its power and structure. They didn't trust Earth. They saw humanity's sudden rise as a challenge to the order they had fought to maintain for centuries. The Orkana, a species known for their resource-rich planets, were the first to voice their opposition to Earth's growing influence. The Orkana had long been the Council's financial backbone, supplying vast amounts of resources and labor. Their response to Earth's broadcast was swift and forceful. They sent fleets into Earth's outer colonies, threatening to cut off essential trade routes unless Earth backed down. Alina knew the time had come to act. Earth could not afford to be bullied by the Council's pawns. The Orkana's threat was not an empty one. They held power over the galaxy's resources. If they aligned with the Council, they could cripple humanity's efforts before they even had a chance to form a proper defense. We cannot show weakness, Alina told General Rhodes. The galaxy is watching us. If we back down now, we lose everything. We must stand firm. Rhodes nodded. We'll need to confront them, head on. The Siraxi offered to act as mediators between Earth and the Orkana, but Alina knew the situation was beyond negotiation. The Orkana's threats had to be met with strength. Earth's response was swift, a show of force, but with diplomacy at its core. The Silent Circle, with its spies embedded within the Council, began gathering intelligence on the Orkana's movements. Earth's fleets were positioned in secret, ready for a confrontation. Meanwhile, diplomats were working tirelessly to send a message to the Orkana. Humanity would not back down. As the tension grew, Alina received another encrypted message, this time from Kren Toller. His message was brief, but its implications were profound. The Council is moving to isolate Earth. They will try to cut off all trade routes and support. But this will backfire. You are not alone. The message was clear. The Council's retaliation was about to escalate. It was no longer just about defense. The galaxy was being divided into two camps, those who supported the old order and those who stood with humanity. With Earth's fleets ready, its allies in place, and the Council's retaliatory strike looming, Alina knew the true test was about to begin. Would Earth stand firm in the face of the Council's fury, or would the weight of galactic politics crush them underfoot? One thing was certain: the galaxy was changing, and humanity would either rise as a new power or be destroyed in the process. The storm that had been brewing for months finally broke, and humanity was caught in the middle of it. Earth's ships were positioned along key trade routes, prepared for the Orkney's retaliatory move, but the tension in the galaxy was palpable. Every major power was watching, waiting for the next step to be taken. The balance of power was shifting, and the stakes had never been higher. Alina stood on the observation deck of Fort Aegis, watching as a fleet of Earth ships prepared to move out. The battle for Earth's future was no longer confined to their own solar system. Every moment brought them closer to a confrontation that could either solidify humanity's place in the galaxy or destroy their entire future. As the Earth fleet began its deployment, General Rhodes met with the high-ranking officers in the war room. His face, normally composed and confident, now looked troubled. The Orkney won't stop with trade restrictions. They want us weak. They want us isolated. If we don't respond with full force, we're giving them the green light to crush us, Rhodes said, his voice low but filled with urgency. But attacking them directly could push them further into the Council's fold. We're walking a fine line here. Alina stepped forward, her mind racing through every option. She understood the weight of the decision. They couldn't afford to make a wrong move. Not now. They had already gained some ground with their allies, but the Council wasn't going to let go of their power without a fight. We can't let the Orkney dictate the terms. We'll move forward with a show of strength, but we'll offer them a path out. Let's make them an offer they can't refuse, Alina said, her voice firm with resolve. It's not just about us anymore. It's about showing the galaxy that humanity isn't afraid to stand up for what's right. The plan was set into motion immediately. Earth would send out a covert diplomatic mission under the guise of military readiness. The goal was to approach the Orkney not with aggression, but with an opportunity, a deal that would allow them to join the growing movement against the Council or risk being left behind in a collapsing system. The message was clear: join us or face the consequences. Meanwhile, the battle above Earth's orbit was still fresh in everyone's minds. While Earth's fleet had held its ground, the Council had not given up. They had called for reinforcements from all corners of the galaxy, and soon Earth would be facing a much larger threat. The Siraxi and the Azura, now officially part of Earth's alliance, were pushing for a diplomatic solution, but even they knew that the time for talking was running out. The Council had shown time and again that it would do anything to preserve its power. They would not allow a challenge from a growing force like humanity to go unpunished. As Earth's fleets moved deeper into contested space, Alina felt the weight of her choices bearing down on her. She couldn't help but remember the faces of those who had died in the initial battles, those who had fought to protect their homes, their families, their futures. This was for them. They couldn't lose now. A message arrived from Kren Toller, the leader of the Siraxi High Command. His words were simple, but they were a warning. The Council's fleet is mobilizing. The attack will come soon. You must act quickly, or they will destroy all the momentum you've gained. Alina turned to General Rhodes, her mind racing. The Council is going to strike first. We can't wait any longer. Prepare our forces. We'll need to hit them before they can organize. Under Alina's leadership, Earth's forces took a bold stance. The Azura had been working on developing new kinds of weapons, their aquatic technology adapted for deep space combat. Their designs were a perfect counter to the Council's fleets, sleek, fast ships that could strike hard and fast, bypassing the larger ships that the Council favored. Earth's fleet, now reinforced with the help of their new allies, moved into Orkney-controlled space, signaling their readiness to confront any threat. But what no one had expected was the Siraxi's surprise move. With Alina's approval, The Siraxi launched a preemptive strike against the Council's forward positions, hitting them in a way that was meant to disrupt their communication lines and supply chains. The strike was swift, devastating, and left the Council scrambling to reorganize. It was an unconventional move, but it sent a clear message. Earth wasn't fighting alone. The Orkney, seeing the writing on the wall, made their move. They had no intention of being caught in the middle of a galactic uprising. A fleet of their ships arrived at the edge of the battle zone, their commanders eager to negotiate, but with conditions that were far from favorable. "We'll stand down," Orkney's envoy said, their voice harsh and demanding. "But only if you guarantee us control of the resource-rich planets in the Zamorian belt. Give us dominance, and we will support your cause. Refuse, and we'll join the Council's side." Alina was caught between two dangerous paths. If she agreed to the Orkney's demands, it could destabilize the entire movement they had worked so hard to build. But if she refused, she risked losing their support at a critical time. The tension in the room was suffocating. Earth's representatives, the Siraxi, and the Azura were all waiting for her decision. Alina stared at the envoy, her thoughts racing. The future of humanity rested on this moment. She had to make a decision that would shape the future of the galaxy. She spoke slowly, deliberately. "The galaxy is changing. Humanity is not in the business of ruling or controlling others. We fight for freedom, for justice. If the Orkney can't accept that, then we'll stand on our own." It was a gamble, a risky one, but it was a choice that defined humanity's path. It wasn't about alliances made out of fear or coercion. It was about principles. The envoy's face twisted with frustration, but there was a grudging respect in his eyes. "So be it. But remember this. You may have won today, but the war is far from over." As the Orkney fleet retreated, the stage was set for the final confrontation. The Council was preparing its forces for a full-scale attack, but they now had a greater problem. The galaxy was no longer united under their banner. Earth had proven that even in the darkest times, the truth could ignite change. The galaxy was no longer theirs to command, and the battle for the future of humanity and the galaxy had only just begun. The final phase of the battle had begun. The galaxy was on the brink of a new era, and everything humanity had fought for, their survival, their sovereignty, and their very existence, was about to be tested in ways they never imagined. As Earth's fleet continued its movements through deep space, the Council's retaliation was swift and unrelenting. The once feared Council fleet was now assembling for a massive assault, their forces scattered but growing stronger with every passing moment. Their agents had infiltrated several key systems, and their spies were everywhere. The Council's response was not just military. It was political, a full-scale attempt to dismantle the alliances Earth had worked so hard to build. But the galaxy was no longer as unified as the Council would have liked. Earth had become a beacon for those tired of the Council's corruption and manipulation. The Azura, the Siraxi, and the Draken had pledged their support, and others were waiting in the wings, watching to see how Earth would respond. Alina stood at the front of Fort Aegis, her eyes fixed on the vastness of space. The stars seemed impossibly distant, yet closer than ever. She knew that this moment would define humanity's future. She could feel the weight of her decisions pressing on her shoulders, but she also felt something else: hope. Humanity had come this far, but they weren't alone. The galaxy had begun to see the truth, and that truth was starting to shift the balance of power. General Rhodes entered the command center, his face set in grim determination. The Council is about to make their move. The first wave will hit Giant Station in a matter of hours. The fleet is already preparing. Alina nodded, her mind already working through the possibilities. She had prepared Earth's forces, but it was the next move, the one that would define everything. That was key. We can't just defend. We have to take the fight to them. Giant Station is strategically important, but it's more than that. It's a symbol. If we lose it, the galaxy will see it as a sign of weakness. Rhodes understood the gravity of the situation. So we strike first then. We hit their supply lines, disrupt their reinforcements, and make them feel our presence. Alina's eyes were sharp as she met his gaze. Exactly. We'll show them that humanity is not something they can simply wipe away. They want war. We'll give it to them. But we do it on our terms. The fleet was ready. Earth's allies, Siraxi, Azura, and Draken, had all gathered, each one bringing their unique strengths to the table. The Azura provided their advanced stealth technologies, ensuring that Earth's fleet would strike from unexpected angles. The Siraxi offered their unparalleled strategic insight, helping them anticipate the Council's every move. And the Draken brought their brutal strength, ready to decimate any forces that stood in their way. As the fleets assembled, Alina felt a strange calm wash over her. This was what they had been building toward. This was their moment to finally take control of their destiny. There was no turning back now. The first wave of ships launched from Fort Aegis, breaking through Earth's atmosphere and heading for Zion Station. The mission was clear: strike fast, hit hard, and cripple the Council's ability to launch a full-scale assault. The ships were armed with advanced ion cannons and plasma bombs, capable of obliterating entire fleets with a single shot. But it wasn't just about firepower. It was about sending a message that humanity was no longer content to cower in the shadows. As they approached Zion Station, the first sign of the Council's defense appeared. A barrage of energy blasts tore through space as the Council fleet emerged from behind the station, their ships cloaked and waiting in ambush. The battle had begun. Alina's heart raced, but she kept her focus. The Silent Circle, the covert operation that had uncovered the Council's deepest secrets, had already planted several covert agents within the Council's ranks. Their intelligence was invaluable, giving Earth's fleet the upper hand in predicting the Council's movements. Every move the Council made, Earth was one step ahead. "Deploy the stealth fighters," Alina ordered. "We hit their command ship first." The sleek, fast-moving ships darted through space, invisible to the naked eye, as they sped toward the Council's command vessel. Within moments, they launched their first wave of attacks, disabling the Council flagship's power core. Sparks flew across the ship's hull, and the once imposing vessel began to drift, vulnerable and exposed. But this was just the beginning. As the battle intensified, the Siraxi deployed their fleet of advanced warships, surrounding the Council's forces and cutting off their escape routes. The Draken, with their devastating plasma cannons, tore through the Council's defense lines, sending ships careening into the void. Earth's ships were relentless, hitting the Council's fleet from every angle. The Orkana, who had been hesitant to fully commit to either side, were now watching closely. Their forces hovered at the edge of the conflict, unsure whether to join the fight or remain neutral. The message was clear: Earth would fight until the end. Despite the ferocity of Earth's response, the Council's strength was not easily broken. Their warships continued to fight, launching relentless counterattacks. Yet the tide was beginning to turn. The Siraxi's tactics had taken out the Council's communications, leaving their forces scattered and disorganized. The Azura's stealth technology allowed Earth's fleet to strike without warning, inflicting heavy losses on the Council's rear forces. Alina watched the battle unfold in real time, her mind calculating every move. It was a brutal, unforgiving fight, but humanity had something the Council didn't: resolve. The battle wasn't just about winning. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity would no longer bow to anyone. Hours passed, and the fighting grew more intense, but slowly, steadily, Earth's fleet began to gain the upper hand. The Council's flagship was destroyed, and their remaining forces began to retreat. The battle was not over, but the message had been sent. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The Council's grip on the galaxy was slipping, and for the first time in centuries, it was uncertain whether they would ever regain control. Alina knew that this battle was a turning point. The war was not yet won, but humanity had proven that they could stand toe-to-toe with the most powerful forces in the galaxy. They had fought not just for survival, but for their right to shape their own future. As the last remnants of the Council's fleet disappeared into the depths of space, Alina allowed herself a brief moment of relief. They had won today, but the true fight for the galaxy was just beginning. And as the galaxy watched, one thing was certain: humanity was no longer just a bystander. They were a force to be reckoned with.